Level 1, Day 1. The notification. You wake up at 6:47 am. Your phone buzzes. Not a text, not an alarm, a bank notification. You almost ignore it. Then you read it again and again. Incoming transfer, $1 trillion. No name attached, no explanation, just a number so large your brain refuses to process it. You sit on the edge of your bed in yesterday's clothes. Your apartment smells like instant noodles and old carpet. There's a crack in your ceiling you've been meaning to report for 3 months. And somehow, you have more money than most countries. Attached to the transfer is a single document. 7 pages. Legal language. Dense and cold. But the last paragraph is simple enough. All funds must be spent within 168 hours of transfer. Any remaining balance will be permanently reclaimed. No refunds. No extensions. No exceptions. 7 days. You do the math. $1 trillion. 7 days. That's roughly $142 billion per day. $5. 9 billion per hour. $99 million per minute. You have 60 seconds to spend what most people will never earn in 1,000 lifetimes. You close the document. You open it again. It's still real. Your first move is embarrassingly small. You order breakfast. Full English. Delivered. 47. $1 trillion. And you start with eggs. But that's how it begins, not with a plan, with panic. Level 2, Day 1. Noon. Buying the obvious. By 10 am, you've hired a financial team. 6 people. Emergency rates. Flown in from New York and London by private charter. They sit around your kitchen table, the one with the wobbling leg, and stare at their laptops in silence. The lead advisor, a woman named Vera, speaks first. We have a problem. Spending $1 trillion legally, quickly and completely is nearly impossible. You tell her to try anyway. By noon, you've bought 3 penthouse apartments in Dubai. Cash. $73 million. Gone in 11 minutes. You buy a private island in the Maldives. $50 million. You buy a fleet of super yachts, not 112, and immediately donate 11 to charity because there's no time to think. You purchase a commercial airline, not a ticket, the airline. $4.2 billion. You feel nothing. That's the first thing nobody tells you about extreme wealth. It doesn't feel like anything. You stare at the transaction confirmations rolling in, and you feel like you're watching someone else's life through thick glass. Vera slides a report across the wobbling table. At this rate, she says, you'll run out of time before you run out of money. You've spent $9 billion in 6 hours. You have $991 billion left, and 156 hours remaining. The math is not in your favor. Level 3, Day 2. Scaling up. You stop buying things for yourself. There's no point. You can't use 12 yachts. You can't sleep in 40 hotel suites simultaneously. You start buying impact. $500 million to a famine relief organization in East Africa. Wire transfer. Done. $800 million to cancer research labs across 3 continents. $1.2 billion to rebuild infrastructure in 3 flood-damaged cities. For exactly 47 minutes, you feel like a god. Then Vera calls. You're being flagged. By whom? Everyone. MRC, the Financial Action Task Force. Interpol's Financial Crimes Division. Transfers of this size don't happen without a paper trail. And your paper trail looks strange. You ask her what that means. She pauses. It means someone powerful sent you this money. And powerful people don't do things without a reason. You hang up. You look at your phone. The original transfer. No name. No routing details. Just a string of numbers that Vera's team traced to a shell company. Inside another shell company. Inside a holding entity registered in the Cayman Islands under a name that translates roughly from Latin as the last inheritor. You don't sleep on night 2. Not even a little. Level 4, Day 3. The meeting. A man arrives at your door at 4 am. You didn't buzz him in. You don't know his name. He's wearing a plain grey suit. No tie. No logo. no watch. He hands you a card. One side is blank. The other says, "You're not the first." He sits down without being invited. He tells you there have been others, 11 before you. Each received the same transfer, same document, same 7 days. You ask what happened to them. He looks at his hands. Some spent it all, most didn't. You ask what happens if you don't spend it all. He smiles, just slightly. The contract reclaims the balance, but it also reclaims something else. You wait. He stands, fixes his jacket. Everything you spent it on, the apartments, the relief funds, the research money, the airline, all of it, gone, as if it never existed. You grab his arm. Who sent this? He looks down at your hand, then at you, someone who wanted to see what you do with it. And then he's gone. The door closes softly, and you have $847 billion left. And 96 hours. Level 5, day 4. Going dark. You make a decision. No more charity. No more real estate. You need to spend big. Faster. In ways that can't be undone. You call a number Vera gave you, quietly off the record, for what she called alternative asset acquisition. A man answers. He doesn't give a name. You don't ask for one. Within 6 hours, you've purchased stakes in 7 of the world's largest private military contractors. $220 billion, transferred in 17 separate tranches. You've bought controlling interest in 4 of the largest sovereign debt portfolios on the planet. You now, technically, own a portion of the debt of 3 nations. You didn't know that was possible. It is. You buy the world's largest private data firm, the one that governments quietly use for population surveillance. $180 billion. You now know more about more people than most intelligence agencies. You didn't plan to become powerful. You just needed to spend the money. But power doesn't ask permission. It just arrives. Your team stops looking at you the same way. Vera stops making eye contact. One of the junior advisors quietly resigns, doesn't explain why, just leaves his laptop on the table and walks out. You watch him go and you don't stop him, because somewhere between day 1 and day 4, something shifted in you. You're not scared anymore, and that should terrify you. Level 6, day 5, the cost. Your phone has 217 unread messages, journalists, senators, 3 heads of state. Your face hasn't been photographed yet, but people know a name, a transaction ID, a pattern. Someone is connecting the dots. Vera calls. Her voice is different, flat. "I need you to know I've been contacted by people I don't refuse." You ask who. "I can't tell you that. I can only tell you they want to know where the original money came from, and they think you know. You don't. They don't believe that." She hangs up. 40 minutes later, 2 of your bank accounts are frozen. Not all of them. Just enough to send a message. You still have $390 billion in accessible funds. You still have 52 hours, but now there are people in dark rooms in 3 countries who know your name, who are watching every transaction, who are asking questions you don't have answers to. You book a flight under a different name, not to run, just to think, but the plane is met on the tarmac, not by police, by a woman in a grey suit, different person, same energy as the man from day 3. She sits across from you in the empty terminal. "You're doing better than most," she says. You ask what she wants. She smiles. "To give you a choice." Level 7, day 6. The offer. She slides a folder across the table. Inside, photographs. Every person you've ever cared about. Not a threat. She's explicit about that. "This is not a threat," she says. "This is context." Context for what? For what happens after the 7 days. She explains it plainly. The money was never random. You were selected, specifically, based on profile data, behavioral modeling, and a psychological pattern that the organization, she doesn't name it, has been refining for 40 years. They're not interested in the $1 trillion. They're interested in what you did with it, how you thought, how you panicked, what you prioritized, when you went dark, what line you crossed on day 5 without even realizing it. You are the data, she says. The money was the test. You sit very still. What happens now? She closes the folder. You spend the last of it however you choose. And then you decide. Decide what? She stands. Whether you walk away from all of this, clean, anonymous and broke, or whether you come work for the people who sent it. She leaves. You sit alone in a glass terminal at 3 am. $390 billion left. 31 hours. And a choice that wasn't in the original document. Level 8. Day 7. The last hours. You spend the morning quietly. $50 billion to a network of climate research stations across the Arctic. $80 billion buying up pharmaceutical patents, then immediately releasing them into the public domain, royalty-free, globally. $120 billion establishing a sovereign education fund for 11 countries that have never had one. Not because it feels good, because you know it might disappear. And you want to make it as hard as possible to erase. Vera resurfaces at hour 162. She looks tired, human, like the version of herself from day 1. Whatever you decide, she says, I want you to know what you built this week. It mattered, even if only for a week. You thank her. She nods, leaves. At hour 167, 60 minutes before the deadline, you have $3.4 billion left. You wire it to a single recipient, an anonymous trust. No name, no cause, no instructions, just a note attached. Use it carefully. You'll know when. You don't know who will receive it. That's the point. The clock hits 0. Your phone buzzes. Transfer complete. Then nothing. The accounts close. The advisor's contracts expire. The transaction records somehow are gone. Scrubbed from every system Vera's team can access. As if it never happened. Except the pharmaceutical patents are still public. The education fund is still active. The climate stations are still running. Not everything can be erased. Not if you move fast enough. Not if you think clearly under pressure. Not if you choose, even once, to do something that outlasts you. Final level. The envelope. 3 days later, you're back in your apartment. Same crack in the ceiling. Same smell of instant noodles. But on your kitchen table, a grey envelope. No stamp. No return address. Inside, a single card. One side blank. The other side reads, you passed. Below that, a time, a location, a date, 6 days from now, and one final line. The next trillion isn't a test. You set the card down. You look at the ceiling crack. You think about Vera, about the man in the grey suit, about the woman in the terminal, about what you built in 7 days, about what got erased, about what didn't. You pick the card back up, and you start getting ready. Some people are given power to see if it breaks them. You weren't broken, which means something far more dangerous is coming. And this time, there's no deadline.